and improvement or progress or increase of the bodhicitta. So this is the brief summary into which all the conducts of the bodhisattvas are included. And among the 37 practices of the bodhisattvas, the first 7 practices are the causes which lead to attain or generate the bodhicitta. And among the 7 causes, the first one is to identify the qualities of precious human body. So actually these points or these things will come during Lamrim teaching. So I won't deal in detail. I will just explain brief. Lay here means the very availability of the time to do the practice of the Dharma. So this is in accordance to the lines in the text which start with the precious human body and so forth. Usually the non-leisure states are 8 kinds. 4 non-leisure states are in the non-human states, and 4 non-leisure states are within human states. Really, there are 8 non-leisure states. We even being in such Dharma center, we seem to have no time for doing the practice of Dharma, and we seem to have no enough leisure. So it seems we are trying to invent the 9th non-leisure. So the precious human body is in Tibetan called Teljor, which literally means leisure and endowment. So leisure is the positive condition, and the endowment being aparted or being separated from negative conditions. And the text says, Teljor, the great sheep of precious human body. The endowments, there are 10 in number, 5 to be from external and 5 to be from internal. We in an era when Buddha has come, and actually at present Buddha is no more within our eyesight, but still there are persons who teach the teachings of the Buddha. Therefore, there's no difference of our meeting with actual Buddha. So this includes the first 2 endowments, which according to verse says Buddha having come and the Dharma having been taught. And thereafter the 3rd endowment is the Dharma being still existent, and we can see that Dharma is still alive or still existent, and there are followers like the 4 kinds of the retinues, Yelongma, Yelong, 2 kinds of novices, etc. Thereafter, the next endowment is to be following that teaching, and we are those who are following that teaching. Next is to be compassionate towards others, and we, having met with the teacher and having received the teachings, our very attitude of mind is compassionate towards others. Then the 5 internal endowments are to be with oneself. So first is to be born in the central place, central province. So this refers to the place where Dharma has spread. There was one forget first endowment to be by oneself is oneself being human, and then being born in the central province, complete with all the organs. And then having devotion or having faith to the object. So this refers to our having faith in the teaching, and to have not committed any of the five most intense negativities, like killing one's parents and killing arahats, etc. These 18 qualities of precious human body is something very difficult to be completed into one person. Therefore, it is, from one point of view, very amazing that we are complete with the qualities which actually seems impossible to be together. And even if we are without any one or two qualities out of these 18, then there's no hope for doing the practice of Dharma. So we are with these qualities. So, like the example, if one has the gem in one's hand, one should be able to use it properly. Likewise, we have to also to be. And then the text says, "Tell your tuition," which means the great sheep of the leisure and endowment. So this is the analogy of our this quality of the precious human body compared with the great sheep, and the samsara compared the ocean compared with the five aggregates, which are the samsara, and being a cross is to be at the state of the enlightenment. Generally, we might think to be across ocean, we may not necessarily depend on ship. We can fly in aeroplane, but that's not the case with going to enlightenment. We have to depend on the ship of the human body. So to attain the liberation and the state of Buddhahood, we compulsorily, or we definitely need this sheep of precious human body. Generally, the ordinary sheep or boat, they can be purchased by spending money or giving money. But this sheep or boat of the human body, you can never buy anywhere. You cannot purchase it. Therefore, we have attained a priceless, invaluable sheep which can lead us to the state of Buddhahood. But still possessing this sheep, if we don't go across the ocean of suffering, instead we waste it, then this is befooling oneself. And the ocean of suffering, it cannot be swum across by swimming. People, they might think that will do prayer to be with this precious human body in next rebirth, but then this is not the case. It is quite difficult to have accordingly, because like purchasing of the sheep, we also have to accumulate enough causes or conditions to have that precious human body next life. And actually, we don't need to do prayer to attain precious human body next rebirth, because this is the moment we are with this precious human body. And if there is the question whether such precious human body will be attained in next rebirth, then the answer is it is quite very, very difficult. And why it is because without cause there will be no result or effect, and even to accumulate one cause to attain precious human body is very difficult. Therefore, to attain precious human body is very difficult from the viewpoint of the cause. Why this is so is because in order to have precious human body in next life, at least we should have pure morality. In addition to that, the training of the sixth perfection, and in addition to that, a very pure prayer. And it is, as we can see, very difficult to have all those things. And why precious human body is difficult to attain can also be illustrated from the viewpoint of example. For example, if a person throw a handful of bean to a crystal or glass house, then it is quite totally, if not impossible, but actually very, very impossible that that any number of beans stick to the glass wall of the house. So likewise, precious human body is very difficult or very rare to attain. And the same example in different way has been presented in the Bodhisattva's way of life, and this we will deal next time during the teaching on learning. Generally speaking, the number of sentient beings in the hell realms are the one which constitute maximum number, and less to the number of the sentient beings in hell realm are the hungry ghosts or the predators, and less to them are the sentient beings in animal realms, and less to them to the man or human. And even among human, it is very few to have human beings practicing the Dharma, and more few is the human beings practicing the Dharma purely. And we don't need to put examples some too distant away. Instead, we just put example with Australia itself. It has about 15 million people, and how many are there who practice Dharma? And there are people who are interested and who are practicing the Dharma, but it is very rare that there are people who practice from the depth of heart. Therefore, we can see it is really very difficult that there are a person or human being with the 18 qualities, and even in Australia with this example, we understood that it is really very rare. And from another point of view, we really think or understand that we are quite fortunate to be with the Dharma. Even from the viewpoint of the number, the person who are doing the practice of Dharma are the fewest or the most few number of the people compared to non-practitioners. So even among the human beings, we can understand the one who do the practice of the Dharma are very rare. From the viewpoint of the number, we can understand the precious human body is very difficult to attain. So that is the way how, in accordance to the text where it says, the great sheep of the leisure and endowment is difficult to attain. So how it is difficult to attain, we can understand through this way. So having attained this very difficult to attain great sheep of leisure and endowment, we should be able to take essence to liberate oneself and other. And Geshe-la was trying to put one example, which was to have the expression of the body appearance of showing oneself really wholeheartedly interested in the practice. The person has attained the realization of the great purposeness of the precious human body. He will not waste his time day and night, and instead he will always be putting effort in his practice, and that is the standard of how a person has attained the realization on the great purpose of precious human body. Therefore, without negligence, to be with hearing, reflection, and meditation day and night is the practice of the children of the conquerors. So this is the first practice. Geshe-la is worried that you may understand the great purposefulness of human body, that you are so much with the understanding, you may not sleep, you may not eat the food tomorrow. You're afraid that you all may try to be like Sober Rinpoche, not needing any bed, not needing any bed, instead to have a very small meditational size of a place to do the practice. Everybody do like that, then it will be widespread to other places. Or generation students nowadays, they are really deep into the practice. Joke, but basically, you should have the practice of listening, thinking, and meditation or familiarization day and night. First practice, which is completely necessary for the bodhisattvas. And thereafter we go on to the second practice, which starts with the being attached to the sides of relatives and friends, like the moving of the water. So this is generally we have so many relatives and friends and parents, etc. Number of the relatives and the friends we have, that much number we will also have enemies. And because we have so many friends and enemies, there will be attachment to the friends and the relatives, like the moving of the water, which is natural. And because there are enemies, we will generate hatred, which will be like the burning of the fire, which is natural. And we generate the attitude to look and care after our relatives and friends, and we generate attitude to try to defeat our enemies. So two kinds of mind or attitude we generate. And thereafter, the third line in the text of the second practice says, with the darkness of forgetting the adoption and abandonment. So this is because of the two kinds of the mind. Our mind is obscure to not see the things to be adopted and things to be abandoned. So as long as we are in our own fatherland or our motherland, then we will generate these two thoughts and we will never be able to practice. Therefore, if a person is definitely to practice the bodhisattvas practices, then the second practice is to leave one's fatherland or native land. So if a person is to practice single-pointedly, then to practice in one's native, or the word says fatherland, to practice in one's fatherland, it will be very difficult to attain the generation of bodhicitta, etc. But we can do this very slowly. We don't need to leave our fatherland tomorrow morning and go somewhere else. It may be possible tomorrow nobody will be at Chanreki, they'll leave. and go somewhere else.
They'll keep the most of us the foreigners here anyway.
Nene de konsume tamolo page there. Chige wa shadares. Then Gishla has no worry. Usually there is a proverb which says once the person has left his fatherland, then half of the practice is completed. Because once the person is in his fatherland, there is definitely the arising of those two thoughts. Because if there are the relatives and the positive side friends, etc., as much number of they are, that much there will be the disturbance to your mind. Sometimes they are sick, sometimes they are suffering from something else, etc. Therefore, if a person is to train on the bodhisattva's practice, then it is very necessary to leave one's fatherland. And then what would be the benefit of leaving one's fatherland? The benefit is shown by the next third practice, which says, because of having abandoned the bad object, the afflictions or the delusions gradually decrease. So as much there is the number of the friend and the enemies, that much there will be a rising of the afflictions or the delusions. And if one has left one's fatherland, then there is no possibility of distraction. Naturally, there will be the arising of virtuous deeds. So the line says, because of no distraction, naturally the virtuous conduct will increase. After to stay in solitude is the practice of the children of the conquerors. So that is the third practice, to stay in solitude. At this moment, when they are the friends, it is best that we leave them and not be attached to them and be in the practice of the Dharma. Because naturally, at the time of death, somehow we have to separate from our friends. So the line says, the friends who I have accustomed since long are separated. Yes, are separated. At the time of the death, we have to leave all our wealth, which we accumulate by great hardship, and we even have to leave our body. Therefore, before that, if somebody, the practitioner, leaves the interest of this life, like accumulating wealth, etc., instead he train on the path, then that person is very clever and intelligent. Therefore, the text says the practice, which is the next one, to forsake this life is the practice of the conqueror's children. The wealth and the friends and the relatives at the time of death, they cannot help to you, so it is like they are deceiving you. We have to forsake the interest of this life. Instead, we have to depend on the four reliances. The first is to rely one's mind on the Dharma. And the Dharma is to wholeheartedly try to generate bodhicitta. Thereafter, to rely on the state of being without anything, even if one may become so poor like a beggar. So the attitude should be, even if I become like a beggar and there is not anything for me to survive, still I will not forsake the practice of bodhicitta. At the time of the death, even the very situation be that there is nothing else, just the rock of the cave, still I have no regret. And the text where it says, part of the text, the forsaking of this life is the conqueror's children's practice. So to forsake this life doesn't mean to jump somewhere. Instead, to practice on bodhicitta, even if it is at the cost of forsaking the dress, food, and even name and fame. And generally, to forsake the food and the dress, they are quite easy, but it is very difficult for a person to be in the practice of bodhicitta by forsaking his fame and name. So, by giving teaching that one should forsake the dress, food, and fame, you shouldn't be tomorrow naked at all. So it should be understood as meaning that we just be satisfied with our dresses, which will keep us safe from heat and cold, and food, which will just keep us living or surviving. And generally for the practitioners, it is a bit difficult to forsake the third one, the name and the fame. So in short, this says that one should forsake the interest of this life, instead try to single-pointedly practice on bodhicitta. When we come to the next one, which it begins, to which when befriended, the three poisons increase. So generally, in this samsara, wherever we, there is not anybody so good a friend to trust completely. Even for example, within a family, there in the beginning, the wife tells to the husband that you are everything, and the husband tells to the wife that you are everything. But sometime afterward, the very trust between one another is lost, and then they are completely in bad terms. And as indication that in this samsara there is nobody to be trusted, the sign is very clear, because of why we have to make pocket with zips and lock the doors, etc. Even the kings, they don't trust each other, because why? They have to keep great number of armies. So to any ordinary sentient beings, you can't really trust, because they are the source of either increasing any of those three poisonous afflictions. It is so is because if you meet a friend or who is on positive side, relatives, etc., they cause to generate attachment. If you see enemy, they cause to generate hatred. And if you see a neutral person or a stranger, then it causes to generate ignorance. And because there will be obstacle for your engagement in listening, thinking, and meditation or familiarization. They also will cause to decrease your love and compassionate mind. Therefore, the text says to forsake or to abandon evil friend is the practice of the children of the conquerors. Then to whom we have to rely on, then that is a very supreme person like one's spiritual or virtuous friend, like a teacher, to whom when relied or when dependent, one's qualities increase and one's evil decrease. So therefore the text says to cherish the supreme teacher more than one's body is the practice of the children of the conqueror. So this indicates or this explains the importance to cherish one's teacher. How we should cherish one's teacher should be in accordance to the example of the bodhisattva ever weeping. So there was one bodhisattva ever weeping who was very good or renowned for his. Bodhisattva ever weeping, when he was to receive the teaching, he sold parts of his body to be able to earn enough wealth or money to offer to his teacher, Dharma, Arya, or Cheva. And why that Bodhi is called by the name ever weeping is because he was always weeping day and night, worrying that when will that day come? I met with the Mahayana Guru who will teach me the practice and path of bodhicitta. Extensive explanation of that example will come during Lamrim teaching. The worldly gods, we can't depend on them because they themselves are not escaped or they are not liberated from samsara. So that is coming to the next practice. So going to refuge to the three jewels is the practice of the children of the conqueror. So the three refuges, they show the teacher who taught the path of cessation, which is the jewel of the Buddha, and the very path of the cessation, the jewel of the Dharma, and the Arya beings who follow that path of cessation, the Sangha. We will come at the time of Lamrim teaching, and generally speaking, the subject of refuge is very vast. Maybe when we come to the teaching of Lamrim, we might forget to explain on that. When we get sick, we try to blame the spirits and the ghosts and the external factors, but actually, if we think carefully, all these sicknesses, their causes have been created by ourselves. And the suffering of the lower realms, they are not caused by our enemies. Instead, they are the very result of our internal afflictions. Therefore, it has been said by the Buddha that they are the result of one's karma. So that is the part of the text which says the very difficult to bear suffering of the lower realms. They have been said by the they have been said as the result of the negative actions. So if the negative actions has such great result of suffering, bringing suffering, therefore to be completely abandoning the negative action is the practice of the children of the conqueror. So that is the next one. Part of the text up to the refuge are so the part of the text up to the refuge, there are the 7 causes to generate bodhicitta. Thereafter, the text starts with the part of the small person. And actually, if we are to explain into very detail, then we have to explain the whole teachings of Lamrim. And actually, if the teaching on Lamrim is given, then there is not any need to give separate teaching on the 37 practices. But because you requested, I have to give teaching.
This endowment being born in a central place. Say if we're born in Australia, the Dharma wasn't in Australia 20, 30 years ago. Does that then mean that we're born? Does that mean in a more general sense of being born in the world? Or did we gain that sense when the Dharma comes to Australia? Like the fact that the Dharma is here now, but perhaps it wasn't when we were born in Australia. Does that mean we have that endowment?
Generally, the central province or central place can refer to a place where there are the 4 kinds of the retinues, 2 ordained and 2 novices, full ordained and 2 novices. Even if they are not complete, let's just think that they are complete and make it auspicious. That in future there will be. It is all right because there is Gelong, there is Getuma, and there is Getu. And even though there may not be full ordained nun, but if there is text which deals about the morality of the full ordained nun, then it is generally regarded that there is full ordained nun. Means that substitutes the very need for the full ordained nun. I can't say, you just examine yourself whether this place is central place or not. Generally, it is said if there are the 4 kinds of the retinues, then it is a central place. How to teach. If they are born with orders.
If you have children or sick or dying, or someone kind of bed, how could you think he's teaching the heart? Not about leaving the fatherland.
Right, that's true. Or if one is to do the practice of bodhisattva single-pointedly, then one has to do like this. And generally, the very conduct or practice of bodhisattva is quite high. It is quite high practice. one is a monk and nun, then one can do accordingly. But if one is a family person, then to leave the parents and the family would be against the practice. Okay. One is a full ordained monk or full ordained nun, then one can do accordingly what the text says. But whereas if one is a family person with the children and parents, etc., then to act accordingly would be actually contrary to the practice. You can't do that because of your leaving them, it will harm to them because they depend on you. God is speaking not to talk about this, not to talk about this practice, even to have the realization of the great purposeness of precious